is time for Around the 412 with Smitty and Tyler.
Welcome back to another episode of Around the 412. I am Tyler. With me, as always, is my co-host, Smitty. Be sure to go follow us on all of our social medias at Around the 412, and go check out the links that we have in the description of our shows on the listening platforms and over on YouTube. We've got everything custom designs, our friend Haley Wagner's business. We have a Facebook link and an Etsy link. She can get you to some customized clothing, whether that is shirts, hoodies, pants. I know she did a lot of stuff over the holidays. Christmas, going to pass, but maybe you can get a head start on Valentine's Day. We don't know, but I know that you can get some customized clothing, whether that is sports apparel, whether that is just some fun designs that you want to make for your kids or whoever, if you want it yourself. Go check that out. Facebook, Etsy link in the description of the show. This is the Pirates episode, and he's back. He's back. That's how we got to open it up. He is back.
We don't need to say
we are
else.
not back, but he's back.
Listen, there might have been some desire to not record a Pirates episode this week from Tyler and I if this didn't happen, but Andrew McCutchen has that type of pull. Back on a 1-year, $5 million deal, we got to record an episode. There's actually another move to talk about here as well for the starting rotation, but like Andrew McCutchen is obviously going to dominate the headlines for us, for all of Pittsburgh baseball fans. Cutch, like 37 years old, who knows what he's going to be like coming off his injury last year. Doesn't matter, right? I mean, I think that we're in the same boat. He should be a Pirate till he wants to be, like, retire as a Pirate as many years as he wants. Sounds like he wants to play at least 2 more. So we will see where things stand after this year, but for sure we know he's going to be part of the 2024 team, which I think is a good thing. I do think he still has some juice left. I think he showed that last year. So I think it's a good thing for the clubhouse, on the field product, for PR, across the board. I think this is just a no-brainer move that the Pirates are fortunate enough that the other party here, Andrew McCutchen, had every intention of making, never wanted to be anywhere else at this point in his career, and gives you a little bit of, we knew this was going to happen, right? But makes you a little bit more excited for 2024 now that it's done.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a move that I had said wholeheartedly that they need to make, not just because of the things that he can do on the field, but what he means to that clubhouse, what kind of leader he is. He's been there, done that with this organization. You need somebody who is still a relatively young team relatively young team. You need somebody to be a leader in that clubhouse. Andrew McCutchen fits that bill perfectly. And let's face it, even though they never actually won anything outside of one wild card game, because of what he did in those postseasons, or in those like postseason runs, and because of what he meant winning an MVP, he's Pirate royalty. And I've said it once, I said it again, I said it on Twitter, I'll keep saying it. You basically just offer McCutchen 1-year contracts until he does not want to play baseball anymore. I don't care, honestly, what he looks like on the field. I think as far as a leader goes, he is. You can't put a price tag on that. And so as long as he wants to still be with this organization, I think that he needs to be. I'm so happy that he's finally back. I mean, we talked about it last week. We knew he was going to be back. We were just waiting for the announcement of when it was going to come. It finally happened. I'm so stoked that he's coming back. I'm excited to see what he did because, like you said, before the injury, very solid player, arguably like basically like a top 3 performer on the team, especially in terms of batters goes and getting on base. Still leading the team in on-base percentage at his age before he was injured last year. So really excited to have Cutch back. It gives us a reason to watch baseball. It gives people – I mean, he alone – that's how much pull Andrew McCutchen has. He alone, more than anybody else in that club's house, gives people a reason to go to the ballpark just so they can see him bat 3 to 4 times in a game.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I agree. What's interesting – about this is like the trickle down effect. Like, do you think that he is going to play pretty much every day as a DH, or like is he going? I can't imagine he's going to play a ton of the field, if at all. But is he their primary DH, or is this really just like a move to have Andrew McCutchen in the fold, but they still have other plans, and he's not going to see as many at bats?
Well, until proven otherwise, I think he should be their primary DH at the very least.
Yeah.
And obviously, you don't want him in the field right away. But with the offense or with the outfielders looking the way they do right now, I don't know that there's necessarily better options that can produce with the bat and in the field. But yeah, I would play him in the DH predominantly, and he would be the primary DH because I don't know necessarily what anybody else is going to produce as a DH level. But I know what Andrew McCutchen has produced. And so until he proves me otherwise that he can't produce at least batting the same way he was at last year, because if pre-injury, if he was performing the same way he was, I'm perfectly fine with him being the regular DH. And so if he continues to do so and continues to get on base and be offensively productive, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, now I want to shift the focus. I mean, we could sit here and talk about Andrew McCutchen all day, but we're not going to do that. Because Jason Mackey put in his article about, Cutch coming back. We again, this had been rumored to be happening. He had put out that it was going to happen this week, and it does. But he threw in there too, like it could soon be. I don't remember exactly, overshadowed by a trade that the Pirates are working on that could help that will help the rotation for 2024 and beyond. Kind of an interesting little nugget to just like throw into an article about Andrew McCutchen.
Kind of eerie, kind of looming, like it's just throwing out just enough information to make you curious.
Yeah, in the fact it's a trade, because like I tweeted this because I saw somebody one of those accounts that like you never know if it's actually somebody with any information or what is, like MLB Scoops or something was the name of it. They tweeted about the Pirates' interest in Sean Manaea. And I actually I know somebody that went to college with Sean Manaea, and I reached out to them and I was like, hey, do you know anything about this? Has Sean said anything about like the Pirates' interest? And they were like, oh yeah, like they've been talking basically since winter meetings about a deal potentially. And I was like, do you know to like what level? Like, have they been talking numbers or what? And they were like, yeah, like I don't know about that. It just seems like it's like base level interest from the team to see where he's at and everything, what he's looking for. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. They're probably doing that with pretty much every starting pitcher that's available. So I do know that they've at least like kicked the tires on that idea, but this post said something about them offering him a Liriano type deal. I think that's referring to the first one that he signed, like the 2 years, 14 million or whatever it was, as opposed to the 339 that he got when they re-signed him. So I don't know. I mean, I'm interested in Sean Manaea. For that price, I think it's okay. You're adding a lot of guys, because we're going to talk about another addition that the Pirates made that I feel good about in terms of being middle to back end of the rotation arms. The problem is like, where's that one or two pair with Mitch Keller? Like that's what I'm questioning. Like, I like the Martin Perez signing. I would like Sean Manaea. I'm totally cool with Marco Gonzalez, but they're all guys that you figure like are part of rotations for teams that are competing. They're not necessarily like at the front of those rotations like they would be for the Pirates. And that's why I'm just not like overly ecstatic about this.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that they definitely need to improve the rotation. I mean, we said on, what was that, the Steelers show at the very end where we were talking about ways that we could get to improve the team to make the playoffs or win a championship or whatever. I said the first and foremost, the Pirates' main problem that I see is their rotation. I don't think it's consistent enough. I don't think it is good enough arms, deep enough arms to get you deep into games. And yeah, the guys that they're bringing in, like, they're fine, but they're not necessarily guys that are going to get you over a hump. There are a lot of guys that you would want in your 3 to 5 slot of a rotation and not necessarily in your 1 to 2. I mean, obviously Mitch Keller's your 1, but we're still looking for a guy to be that 2. And that's something that they haven't been able to do or at least on the surface in free agency yet. And if something like it was that Mackey tweet or whatever it was, if that's what they're going to do, if that's how they bring in a number 2, I'm really interested to see, especially since he said it's a trade.
Yeah,
like who are they who are they trading for and what are they giving up as well?
Like the name that everybody's thrown out there, and this would be the number 1. Like this would move Mitch Keller number 2, Dylan Cease of the White Sox. But like my issue with that is like you're talking about assumed costs here of what it would take to acquire Dylan Cease, and then you got 1 year of control with him before he hits free agency, and he's a Scott Boras agent. He's hitting free agency. Like the chances of the Pirates re-signing him before that happens, I would put what's lower than 0 of that happening. So yeah, it was rhetorical, but I appreciate the answer. Yeah, so that wouldn't happen. So to me, I don't know that the one is worth it. I think like, okay, if you want to explore it and see what the cost is, but I just think, man, that he seems destined for somebody else that isn't the Pirate. Maybe he gets traded at the deadline as a rental, finishes out the year somewhere on a contender, and then signs somewhere in free agency. I just assume that every Scott Boras guy is hitting free agency. Maybe you go poking around the Marlins, who have a ton of pitching, and seeing if you can get one of their starters. The one that I'm hopeful that it's not is Alek Manoah of the Blue Jays, who is a buy low candidate. So like if you're buying low on him, I don't necessarily hate the idea of acquiring him to see if you can fix him, but that can't be like what you are assuming is the solution for the rotation. Like again, you're talking about another guy that maybe contributes on the back end of a rotation, but he's not the Alek Manoah. You're not acquiring the Alek Manoah of 2020. 21, whichever year it was that he was really good. He was really bad. He didn't even finish in the majors last year. He got sent down all the way to rookie ball and was still getting lit up there. I mean, he became like their Roansy Contreras, except with a little bit more of a track record prior to. I don't know. I'm curious what Mackey's cooking up here with this for the Pirates, because clearly something is going on. I'm glad that they're still addressing the rotation even after adding Marco Gonzalez and Martin Perez. Which, but by the way, to quickly touch on Perez, won the World Series with the Rangers last year. He was an all-star the previous year. Again, perfectly fine if he's the number 3 in this rotation. I think that's a really solid spot for him. But if you're asking him to come in and be more than that, I just don't think that's I don't think he's a number 2 in a very strong rotation.
I'm trying to look for something. No, this wouldn't be a long-term thing unless they gave him a contract. Because now he'd be in arbitration still.
Who are you looking at?
Shane Bieber.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a guy that makes sense.
Yeah, I honestly I think you should be looking at those Marlins guys. I think that they have a lot of starting pitching on their roster that makes sense, that are either guys that are just like have just kind of come into the rotation. Like I'm not talking like Sandy Alcantara or whatever, but like I don't think that he's available, even though he wasn't even their best pitcher last year in their rotation. Who in that rotation would they like? Edward Cabrera probably takes too much to get, in my opinion. Jesus Luzardo could be interesting. I don't know that they're listening on Max Meyer. I don't know, but that would probably be the team that I'm interested in seeing them try to make a deal with.
I mean, I feel like we're both in agreement then that that's the number one issue the Pirates still need to solve if they want to improve.
Yuri Perez is there too. Trevor Rogers. They have like 6 or 7 guys that they could throw into any rotation, so they make sense as a partner. What does it take to get one of those guys though?
I don't know. The Pirates currently have one of the top farm systems in all of baseball, don't they?
They do, but like the Marlins are probably looking for MLB ready compensation because they're trying, like they feel like they're kind of there too. So like
I don't know if they want that.
And like I know the Pirates kind of have like an influx within the middle infield, right? But like, are they really intrigued by like a Nick Gonzalez? Like
let me sell them on a guy who's gonna hit 30 plus home runs, but he's going to strike out 70% of the time.
Yeah, Jack Sawinski. Actually, what's funny is I was going to bring up Jack Sawinski, not as part of this, but one of the questions somebody asked us. So I guess we can just kind of go there now. By the way, I appreciate Rudy, Mr. Leon is their username here. What needs to break right for the Pirates to be above 500 next year? I actually think Jack Sawinski is a big part of this, because I think that the consistency is he needs to go to a different level. Like obviously you appreciate the home run power that he possesses. I thought he was starting to draw a little bit more walks last year too, as time went on. But if he's very clearly going to be part of their plans, and I think he became even more important when Endy went down, because now you're talking about a guy with Henry going behind the plate, having to shoulder a lot in terms of the outfield load, in my opinion, and Jack Sawinski, and also probably still batting in the middle of the order. I think he's a big part of this. Obviously, the return of, like, easy answer, O'Neal Cruz returning to the lineup and being exactly what you thought he was going to be in 2023, in 2024. But the pitching, is also a very easy answer. I think you need to get another guy at least somewhat close to that Keller mold, that Keller cloth, the result that you're going to get. I'm not saying that type of pitcher, just the results on the surface, what Keller gave you last year. I think you need somebody else like that at the bare minimum.
I think Johan Oviedo is going to be a bigger loss than people realize on the surface.
Sure. Yeah. And that's, is that a sad statement to make? Like, should he be as big of a loss as what he's going to be? Is my question.
It's 50% sad. Listen, we went over this. We can go back to that episode where half of his starts, he's an all-star.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I'm not even talking about like him for his results, but is it sad that we don't expect the Pirates to even be able to replicate what he was giving you?
Oh, that's true.
That's what I'm saying. Like, going out and getting even what he was giving you. Like, did they get that back with the additions of Martin Perez and Marco Gonzalez? Maybe in Perez, but like certainly not, in my opinion, in Gonzalez. But you can't be done yet with the rotation. You still need at least one more arm, whether that is via trade or if it's Sean Manaea or if it's Michael Lorenzen still out there as well. Could make some really good first half last year and then got traded to Philly. I'm not saying he was bad, but certainly didn't get the same results. They also weren't utilizing him the same way as Detroit was early in the year. But yeah, to me, need more from the rotation than what there is on the surface. Need a full healthy season of O'Neal Cruz, and you need more consistency game in and game out from Jack Sawinski. Those would be my three.
Yeah, I mean, mine are pretty similar to yours. I think you need to have more consistency with your rotation and in terms of not only finding the guys to put into your rotation, but I think that the rotation needs to get more consistently into innings like 6 and 7 instead of 5 and earlier. I think that'll help out your team, helps out your bullpen, because bullpen is something that I have more confidence in going into 2024 than I thought I should have had going into 2023. I was surprised by a lot of guys in the bullpen and impressed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that going into 2024, obviously I feel good about a lot of guys there, but I don't want to overuse them. So I think the starting pitching needs to more consistently get into deeper innings. And then kind of going along with, like you mentioned, like O'Neal Cruz coming back and having consistency, or getting back to his level, and Jack Sawinski having consistency. I think that you need your like 6 through 9 spots to just be more consistent in terms of your lineup, because that's the thing. If only your 1 through 5 hitters are getting on base, then that's 3 of your innings. I mean, you're going through hitters that aren't even going to contribute that much to it. So that's a third of your game that you're basically forfeiting an inning. Can't keep doing that. You can't do that and expect to win. So Pirates need to find some consistency, mainly in their starting rotation, and then it's also in the bottom half of their lineup in terms of their hitters.
Whether it's pitching or a position player, Ryan Russell asked, what could it realistically take for Bob Nutting to sign a free agent to a multi-year deal for over $10 million a year? Talking a true free agent, not a homegrown star like T. Brian O'Neill, even Reynolds. I know that he wasn't, drafted and brought up necessarily, but still from the AA level to the majors and then given an extension, I would throw him into that bucket as well. This is the next step, right? Like showing that you are committed to bringing in outside talent to add to the internal group that you've developed and put on the field. It's a hard answer. I think that go back to the Steelers episode, new owner. I would like to think that they've learned their lesson from their last window in 2013 to 15 and seeing like, okay, we didn't do enough in that window of contention. We need to do more this time. Now, whether they feel like they're there or not, I don't know. But I would say for sure, at the least, if they realize they're only one piece away, I think that they would be willing to do something like that. I think this is the offseason to do it, though. Like, I think when you look at the young nucleus that they have, and it's very unfortunate that they're not going to have Endy, one of the pieces that I was really looking forward to watching in 2024. But I think when you look at what they have right now, the time is now to add somebody like that to this group to show them obviously what they're going to bring on the field, that type of player that we're talking about here, a multi-year deal worth 10 plus million, but also just showing them like, hey, we believe in you guys. Like, we believe that this is a group that can win, and we're willing to commit this money, this amount of term to a player because we feel that strongly about this group. I think that a move like that would go beyond just the baseball field for this team, this organization, this fan base, and just show a level of commitment that, quite frankly, you and I have not seen from this group.
Well, that's, as you were talking, I was trying to think, what's the biggest free agent they've ever signed? I have no idea.
Yeah, it's got to be Russell Martin or Liriano, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, that's probably the case, and you would think that they would at least be selling the idea of competing in 2024. I don't think that Andrew McCutchen has as much intrigue of returning if they don't, because that's kind of what he talked about whenever he decided to come back to Pittsburgh, is that he wants to win here, and they have the team to do it, and they have the ability to do it. And so if they're not selling that, then I don't imagine he comes back.
So sad.
These
are all, by the way, internal ones. Like, I'm looking for a largest outside one because their top 10 and the honorable mention ones listed here are all like re-signing. Obviously Brian Reynolds broke the $100 million, but Key Brian Hayes, 870, Jason Kendall, 660, which in 2000, man, that was crazy for them. McCutchen, 651.5, Brian Giles, 645, Liriano, 339. But that was after he was already with us. That was when he re-signed, I believe, that we're talking about. Polanco, 535, Cervelli, 331, Marte, 631, Harrison, 427. And then, yeah, Kevin Young, I'm going to bring this guy's name up, redacted, a former closer of the team, Jack Wilson, Jason Bay, Jay Bell. Like, there is not an outside. So I'm thinking it's Russell Martin or the first Liriano deal.
Can we talk about how crazy it is that in Andrew McCutchen's prime, he was making like $8.5 million a year?
Yeah, great bargain for them.
Must have had a word with Sidney Crosby in that note.
I mean, that's the thing, man. He showed them a commitment to the team that just, quite frankly, was not repaid. Like, when you make a deal like that, I feel like the expectation should be, okay, like, where are the pieces around me? Like, what if I'm taking this type of discount, spend the money that I should have gotten on my contract to put the pieces around me to be able to win.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he just, like, literally was it the year after he signed the contract? He won MVP.
Yeah. That contract was in 2012.
Yeah. So the year after he signs it, he wins MVP. He should be making double that contract. And
so to answer this question, like, what would it take? Just a desire to do it. I mean, whether you want to say from him or if he's relying solely on Ben Sherrington's information to be like, hey, I do feel like this is the team that we could do this type of deal, or makes sense to do this type of deal for. All it takes, that's all it is a desire from the ownership group and the general manager, and a willingness to do so. There's no other answer there that I think would apply.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that was it. So unless you have anything else on the Pirates, I don't believe. Yep, that's it for questions. So
yeah, we're good.
December 20th, 2023. Hopefully whatever Mackey was talking about with this pitching move happens, and we can talk about it post-Christmas on a Pirates episode. If not, we will probably operate based off what the team does. So, maybe no episode next week. Be in touch. You guys know our social at Around the 412 on all the platforms. Of course, Zachary Smith PGH is my handle. Weiler_Teach33 is Tyler's. So follow both of us as well. And stay up to date with the Pittsburgh sports talk. And if we're going to have a Pirates episode on any given week, this time of year, again, we're kind of relying on, did the team do anything within the last week? This week absolutely made sense to have an episode. And we appreciate the questions as well, not just the Pirates, Penguins, Steelers related, a lot of good stuff this week. So thanks for the questions. Merry Christmas, happy holidays from the both of us to you and all of your families. Favorite time of year, of course. Rocking Around the 412 has just enhanced that, but I've always loved this time of year. Huge Christmas guy. As Tyler mentioned at the beginning of the show, everything custom designs, Facebook, Etsy, both in the description. Wherever you are watching or listening to this, our friend Haley Wagner's small business. Get yourself some custom clothing. That includes Around the 412, by the way. She's done Around the 412 designs. I know that she's got that in her bank. So if you want to get an Around the 412 shirt or hoodie or something like that, she can absolutely do it for you. I got them. Tyler's got stuff. His mom's gotten stuff in the past. So check out the links. Go check out Haley's work. Get yourself something from her, just not a hat. Everything but hats, custom designs is what we like to call her at this point. But for Tyler, for myself, thanks for listening to another episode of the Around the 412 Pirates Show. Go watch another episode, because at this point, the episodes for the week are out. So you can go check out the Steelers or Penguins if you've missed them. So go do that right now. But until next week, we'll talk to you then. Bye-bye.